confirmed number of new coronavirus cases reported in Los Angeles County in the last 24 hours is 3,322, with 36 additional deaths. Here in Torrance, 18 additional cases were reported, with 1 new death. Welcome to COVID-19 Today. I'm Leslie Robbins, filling in for Christine Lee. It's Wednesday, August 25th. A Los Angeles-based advocacy group is taking matters into their own hands to gather data regarding the coronavirus infection within the Los Angeles Unified School District. As teachers and students begin a second week of in-person learning, the group, called Parents Supporting Teachers, initially calculated that nearly 1,900 district employees and students tested positive for COVID-19 just during the first week of school. Now, to give some full context, while close to 1,900 is a large number, those cases were out of a pool of nearly 451,000 students and 60,000 employees that are in the LAUSD. That actually breaks it down to a positivity rate of less than 4 in 1,000. By public health standards, it's still considered a relatively low infection rate. LAUSD school board members say since they are requiring testing each week, this means those who are sick are being identified quickly, and they are dealing with the situation on a case-by-case scenario. Students and staff who test positive must test negative before they are allowed back on campus. On LAUSD's website, they've listed a number of resources and locations where free COVID-19 vaccinations are available beginning this week. A highly anticipated event in the Southland announced they're coming back one last time in the fall. The Los Angeles County Fair, which is considered one of the largest and longest running fairs in the country, will return to the Pomona Fairplex, but is expected to take place on a much smaller scale, calling this year's event the Bite-Sized Fair. The anticipated dates will run from September 10th through the 26th. This will also be the last time the fair takes place in the fall. Beginning next year, the local tradition will move to the spring and will take place during the month of May. You'll find featured rides and games along with carnival-style food and much more. Tickets purchased in advance are just $2 and parking is $10. And for those planning to get there by Uber or Lyft, tickets will be $5. To get your tickets, go to lacountyfair.com/bite. More Disney stores are expected to close their doors in September, but it's not all bad news. Just in time for the holidays, close to 100 Target retailers across the country will soon offer a little Disney magic on their store shelves. Retail giant Target announced plans to expand its Disney store inside Target locations across the country. Already, there are 53 small shops inside Target stores and an online store at target.com/Disney Store. Disney announced in March it would close at least 60 Disney stores in North America this year, with nearly 40 stores shut from the first round of closures. The company said it was reducing the number of stores to focus on its e-commerce business. The closest Disney store to the South Bay that is expected to close is in Santa Monica. With just a few weeks to go, already more than 1 million ballots have been submitted in California's gubernatorial recall election. According to Political Data Inc., 56% of the ballots that were returned were from Democrats, while 22% are from Republicans and 22% from independent voters. Data also shows that of those ballots, close to 72% were from people ages 50 and above. Now, local election offices began sending out vote-by-mail ballots earlier this month to reach voters in time for the September 14th election. Anyone who is registered to vote in California can vote in the recall election. Now, on the ballot, there are 2 parts to pay attention to. The first question asked, shall Gavin Newsom be recalled from the office of governor? A no vote means you want Newsom to remain in office. A yes vote means you want him removed from office. Now, if you answered yes, you'll be asked to choose from the list of replacement candidates. If the majority of voters answer yes to recall the governor, the replacement candidate with the highest number of votes will be elected for the remainder of Newsom's term, which ends in January of 2023. Officials have 30 days after the election to complete the official canvass. California's latest round of Golden State stimulus checks will be arriving soon. The California Franchise Tax Board announced people eligible to receive checks could see them ranging from $500 to $1,100 in some cases. Now, those who qualify are people who had an income less than $75,000 last year, have lived in California for most of the year, currently residing in the state, and are not claimed as a dependent, and filed their 2020 taxes before October 15th, 2021. The CFTB says for those who qualify, they should receive $600 with an additional $500 if dependents were claimed on last year's taxes. The state will begin issuing payments by the end of the month and will continue issuing them on a 2-week basis. Direct deposits will arrive first, followed by paper checks. Well, twice a month, we share a Wellness Wednesday story to help stay on top of this pandemic, both emotionally and physically. The current crisis in Afghanistan continues to impact so many here in Southern California. Last week, Governor Gavin Newsom declared that Afghan refugees are welcome in California. Well, Citi Cable's Christine Lee got on a virtual call with a longtime family friend whose family is from Afghanistan. She shares her story about how she is raising awareness on the current situation and offers a way for Afghan American women to safely connect and feel supported during this difficult time.
Thanks, Leslie. I met Sarah Stanizay in middle school in West LA, and we've stayed in touch for many years. She is currently a local therapist and loves to help first-generation immigrant Americans like myself. Sarah, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I've met your family when we were younger, but recently when I checked in with you, you said you had loved ones right now in Afghanistan as well.
Yeah, so my parents immigrated here in the late 70s. So my sister and I grew up here, but many of my close family members are still in Afghanistan right now.
I'm so sorry to hear, just everything that they're probably going through right now. And, many of us have very little knowledge about what life is truly like in that part of the world. And I'm learning a lot just by talking to you about it.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot too. It's really a specific experience to live through these things and see them on the news, but I'm actually experiencing it almost directly from people who are still currently in Afghanistan, in Kabul, in other parts of the country. So it's a very strange experience and a pretty painful one to see how, on the one hand, it's represented in the media and how people have misinformation versus what I'm actually hearing from my family members on the ground in Afghanistan. And it's really difficult also to watch my father, who was a refugee and who immigrated here, escaping war and violence, only to have him be re-traumatized and see that happening all over again.
And knowing that you have family members who could be in danger right now in Afghanistan, where do you find comfort and support during a time like this?
I'm really lucky that I get to work with Afghan Americans. That's what my work has been focused on for the past few years. So while I'm really lucky that I get to help my community by providing mental health services, I'm also grateful that it's a little bit of healing and community for myself as well. And no one else really understands what this feels like. And so it's helpful for all of us to connect, not only through my work, but through protests and organizing. There was a vigil in Los Angeles earlier this week. So all of those places where we can come together have been really helpful for all of us.
Oh, that's great to hear. And Sarah, Governor Newsom said over the past decade, California has taken in more refugees than any other state in America, and that there is a disproportionate number of Afghan refugees right now in our state. Do you have any idea how many Afghan Americans are in the LA area?
Um, I'm not sure what the word disproportionate means. I don't know what we're comparing that to, but California does have, Northern California especially, but also Southern California, both have pretty strong Afghan American communities. I think there isn't specific census data because the census doesn't actually ask. The Afghan isn't one of the options, and so many people don't know if we're supposed to check Asian. Afghanistan is a Central Asian country. If we're supposed to check Middle Eastern, because that's what everybody thinks we are. So we sometimes are told to check the box for white. And many of us don't identify as white. So it's actually hard to get accurate numbers, but I've seen numbers anywhere between 10,000 to 50,000 just in California.
Wow, that's a lot. And I love what you've been doing to try to support Afghan American women in particular and really singling out that group even before this latest crisis. Can you share what you've been doing to try to help this specific group of people, especially during the hard times?
Yeah, so I have been running my Afghan American women's support group for a little over a year. It's a cyclical group, so we offer it a few times. And we're just finishing up around now. Luckily, that group is already in place and we've been meeting for several weeks. And so we have a pretty strong support through that group, but I'm gonna be offering it again as I work out logistics and just handle this crisis. But I'm really honored to be able to offer it again in the next month or so, free of charge. And it will be open to Afghan women in the diaspora. So it won't just be for California or just for even just for America. So I'm going to be sending out details about that as well.
Okay. Thanks again so much, Sarah, for making time to talk to us. I know this has been very difficult for you.
Thanks for having me.
I hope her story helps you to feel a little bit more connected about what's going on right now on the other side of the world. If you want to learn more about Sarah and her practice, you can log on to prospecttherapy.com. Leslie?
Thanks, Christine. Well, Torrance City Council members were back inside the chambers last night to discuss city business. Some of the items discussed on the agenda included a resolution honoring Tony Mulliken from the Torrance Public Works Department on his well-deserved retirement from the city after 36 years of service. Then 18 new members were appointed to the 2021 to 2022 City of Torrance Youth Council. This is an advisory body to the City Council on issues related to youth in Torrance. They meet monthly and even during the pandemic last year continue to meet virtually. 2 members represent each of the Torrance High Schools, El Camino College, Sherry, California Academy of Math and Science, along with 2 members at large. Then the city manager and staff shared the latest updates on the city's effort to address homelessness in the community. Council members were also appointed to various committees, from the Citizen Development and Enrichment Committee to the Armed Forces Day Committee, and much more. These are just a few of the items discussed last night. You can catch replays of the meeting in its entirety on our channel, online, and on our social media platforms. The next scheduled meeting takes place on Tuesday, September 14th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. sharp. Last night's council meeting adjourned in memory of former city employee Patrick Wen, who lost his battle to cancer recently. Born in Los Angeles, he grew up in Gardena and honorably served in the United States Air Force. He had a successful career with Pacific Bell Telephone for 27 years before joining the city of Torrance. That's when Pat joined the Torrance Police Department in 2000, where he served as the city's first animal control officer. He also worked in the Records Division, Research and Training Division, Traffic and Personnel as a background investigator until he retired from the city in 2014. He loved playing the drums and even played in a band called the Vipers. They performed at the city's employee variety show, which helped raise funds for various charities. He also enjoyed devoting his time to the Relay for Life event in Torrance to support cancer research. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the USO or the Gary Sinise Foundation in his honor. We knew him well here at Citi Cable as we interviewed him numerous times when he worked as an animal control officer. He always had a big heart and a friendly smile. He will be greatly missed. Well, before we go at the end of each program, we like to share feel-good stories from our community, images and videos that remind us of how resilient our community is and how Torrance truly cares. Well, a group of young athletes from Torrance made national headlines this week as they played their hearts out on the field in South Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Today they played against a team from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but could not pull off the win. The final score was 1-0. Torrance is among the 6 teams remaining from the original 8 in the Tom Seaver bracket. Torrance beat New Hampshire and Ohio with a score of 19-2. South Dakota allowed only 1 hit with a win in Louisiana 2-0 and Oregon 3-0. Michigan and Hawaii, who defeated Torrance in the West Region title at San Bernardino last week, are the other 2 undefeated teams remaining. They play at the bottom of the hour as their match kicks off at 4:30 p.m. Here in Torrance, a watch party was held at Shakey's Pizza on Pacific Coast Highway. Radio host Tim Conway Jr. is there to help cheer on the Torrance Cardiac Kids and raise funds to support the All-Star families and help offset the cost of travel. A portion of today's sales at the restaurant will also be donated to the team. Now, since it is a double elimination round, Torrance will face Ohio tomorrow. Good luck, and most importantly, boys, have fun. Now, if you have a great story, upcoming event, a photo or video you'd like to share, email us at covid19today@torranceca.gov. We'd love to hear from you. Well, that is our update for COVID-19 today. We will see you back here tomorrow as Bella Shaw brings you the latest. Please be safe, stay healthy, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.